Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that we have all been waiting for, the official launching address by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone's Maada. It is my distinct privilege and pleasure. You don't often get the opportunity to invite your own president. So it is my pleasure to invite the soldier Democrat, the national leader who has been and is at the heart of Bintumani 1, Bintumani 2, and now Bintumani 3. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. You can sit down now. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to conveniently stand on existing protocols. It's nearly 2 pages. And I see here is good morning, but I will say good afternoon. We are gathered here today to take a major step in strengthening our democracy through a consultative conference that will lead to the establishment of an independent Peace and National Cohesion Commission. Between the 15th and 17th of August 1995, the National Provisional Ruling Council opinions. They came from a broad range of backgrounds and interest to discuss the timetable and process leading to the restoration of democratic civilian rule in this country. On the 12th of February 1996, I, as head of state, enjoined Sierra Leoneans to promote peace, development, and stability. I asked every Sierra Leonean to be mindful that we all are our brothers' keepers with one destiny and a common future. I exhorted every Sierra Leonean to work to achieve peace and develop an environment in which democracy could thrive, knowing that the welfare of our citizens is always the supreme law of the land. Following rapprochement with the REF leader, Peace Accord in 1996, yet another meeting was convened by civil society organizations between April 7 and 9, 1999 to advise the government delegation to the Lome peace talks on pathway to peace. Both Bintumani 1 and Bintumani 2 were consultative conferences. A broad range of stakeholders convened to present their views and expectations and to make informed decisions about the shared direction and destiny of our nation. I believed then, and I still believe today, that providing a space for discussions enable government to hear out the various voices and sentiments of ordinary citizens across the nation. This Bintumani 3 shape the mechanics of the proposed independent Peace and National Cohesion Commission. The eventual establishment of that commission will be a huge step in our efforts to further consolidate and strengthen our democracy. 28 years after the adoption of our national constitution, 18 years after the end of civil conflict, 15 years after the conclusion of the Truth and Reconciliation hearings, through 5 democratic election cycles and 3 peaceful transfers of power. Our efforts to build solid institutions that will enable us to consolidate democratic practices and enhance national cohesion. We are a stable democracy. We have a free press. Civil society organizations operate and speak up freely. Our communities are integrated at all levels. We are a nation at peace. We need to consolidate and institutionalize those gains. We therefore need a viable infrastructure to help us build on past efforts. Mindful of the lessons contained in the Truth and Reconciliation Report, and looking back on our past with total candor, I announced during the state opening of Parliament in 2018 the launch of a national consultative conference with a focus on peace building, diversity management, and the rebuilding of an independent commission for peace and national cohesion. The commission will be established by an act of Parliament. I anticipate that it will comprise representatives of every facet of Sierra Leone society. So my government is eager for the final communique from this event, and we expedite its consideration by Cabinet and then the Sierra Leone Parliament. Sierra Leone deserves a permanent and effective peace infrastructure on which the full spectrum of Sierra Leonean voices is represented. This is why we are here today. So this Bintumani 3 is about the voices of women, men, the old, the aged pensioners, our youth, children, persons living with disabilities, journalists, civil society, members of the security forces, nurses, doctors, and civil servants, private businessmen and women, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, and ordinary citizens. Each and every voice matters. Our Constitution and National Consultative Conferences have never been about the singular ambition of a politician or the narrow selfish interest of a few politicians. Sierra Leoneans have proven again and again that they are capable of getting together and talking to one another about the future of their nation. Bintumani 3 is therefore not about politics or politicians. Bintumani 3 is about the people, the future of our democracy and our beloved. So to those who claim to promote national cohesion and yet refuse to participate in such an important gathering, I want to ask a simple question. Where will your attitude take Sierra Leone? You cannot refuse to participate in an event that draws its force from all corners of this country and walks of life. You cannot claim to love Sierra Leone more when all your actions and statements are contrary to the spirit of promoting diversity in democracy. Bintumani 3, I have emphasized, is about those rare ordinary Sierra Leonean voices from all four corners of the nation and the diaspora. Thinking, talking about and planning the direction in which we can take our vibrant democracy. This is a conference about planning the future architecture of the Independent Peace Cohesion Commission. This is about establishing a permanent commission for peace and national cohesion. We are here with a singular commitment to move our nation forward. Let us therefore endeavor to make the best of our gathering here to set the narrative right, to neatly arrange the building blocks of the proposed commission in a way that it will reflect our shared commitment to our destiny as a nation. Let us put forward legitimate arguments that represent our common interests and needs. Let us build an institution that we add value to our democratic credentials. Let us build an institution together in one nation state, the land that we love, Sierra Leone. Let us make our governance institutions robust so that people do not easily undermine their legitimacy and effectiveness. Let us talk about how we can make it impossible for any one person or group of persons to keep tearing our nation apart. Let us be totally honest and translate that honesty into real action for the good of this nation once and for all. Sierra Leoneans live together, worship together, celebrate together, watch football games together. We use the same markets, we live in the same communities very peacefully. The problem is that bad politicians are at the heart. They make everything political. The ethnicity of the people, the region they come from, what they believe in, what they say, even people's last name and the color of the clothes they wear. So why some of our elections are still characterized by low levels of violence and intimidation? The growing politicization of ethnicity and ethno-regionalism have become recurrent, albeit objectionable patterns of our politics. Politicians have tampered with critical national data either for political gerrymandering or to justify the uneven allocation of state resources. In the recent past, we witnessed heightened sycophancy. We saw leaders being turned into demagogues. People overlooked rampant corruption because the looters were politically loyal to them. Governance processes have been characterized by discriminatory and divisive practices that have unfairly and unjustly excluded sections of our population. Impunity is rife in this country. Buff case, no case, do not make for justice in our nation. Law enforcement should do its work fairly, without favor, and without fear of recrimination or reproach. The media and civil society must not foster disinformation and hate. Press freedom is not freedom to sow strife and discord. Press freedom should enrich our civic discourses for the development and not the division of our nation. Let us hold ourselves accountable as traditional and local council leaders for enriching the lives of our people We continue to see chiefdoms that are bedeviled with consistent social challenges. We continue to see and address inadequacies and limits of local governance and their corresponding impact on social peace. We continue to witness registered political parties that display total disregard for due process and internal democracy as prescribed in the codes of conduct set by the Political Parties Registration Commission. We even see some parties setting supporters against their own officials who hold alternative views on peace and cohesion in our country. Let us hold ourselves accountable for delivering justice fairly and speedily to those who deserve justice. The inability of the poor and the vulnerable to access justice are sources of tension in this country. Let us hold ourselves accountable as a nation, how we protect and provide access to services for the vulnerable. Let us protect women from sexual violence, gendered violence, and gender discriminatory practices and attitudes. Let us protect persons with disability, children, youth, and the aged, and the poor. We must promote opportunity for every Sierra Leonean, irrespective of ability, gender, or circumstance. Let us hold ourselves accountable for moving this country in the right direction, ensuring public confidence in state governing institutions. Let us hold ourselves accountable for public service delivery, for quality of our schools, for the actions of our children, for the quality of our services, and for the attitude, and for our attitude towards innovation and change. Let us hold ourselves accountable for supporting probity and transparency in our governance processes and in our daily lives. Do not pay or receive bribes, or do not misuse public resources or public facilities. Let us hold ourselves accountable for how we treat our people and community. Let us hold ourselves accountable for our civic responsibilities, protecting our rights, but also respecting the rights of other citizens. We must treat one another with fairness and justice. I call on our compatriots in the diaspora to play a role in mobilizing expertise, ideas, and investment to Sierra Leone. They too have a stake in strengthening our democracy. Let us expand the civic space through our interaction on social media and eschew dangerous rumors and hate mongering. We all have an abiding interest in a peaceful and prosperous Sierra Leone. Fellow citizens, these are the sources of frustration and discontentment in Sierra Leone, the land that we love. So our problems in Sierra Leone are not just limited to bad politics and bad politicians, but to the nature of our engagement in the civic space. Therefore, we have an obligation at this conference to discuss together, think together, work together on how to build an institutional architecture that will help us provide solutions to the issues raised above. Bintumani is a meeting to design how we can secure our democracy from shocks with a permanent, representative, and sustainable peace and cohesion infrastructure that resolves the triggers of conflict in our country. This continued search for stability is the sine qua non for development in this country. To my mind, reflecting with honesty and total candor on the past and the present, and tasking ourselves with institutionalizing practices and processes that ensure fairness, equity, and justice is no doubt the exigency of our time. I want to take this opportunity, therefore, to salute all Sierra Leoneans from all walks of life who are present here today. Our revered paramount chiefs, local council leaders, community leaders, women, children, persons with disabilities, civil society organizations, journalists, members of the security forces, representatives of various institutions, and many more. I also want to thank our development partners who have always demonstrated again and again that peace and cohesion in Sierra Leone matters in the international community of nations. We thank our brothers and sisters from neighboring countries who have always supported us with their blood and sweat and unconditional goodwill in making our nation a democracy and our nation a better place to live. In this month, holy month of Ramadan, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you wisdom, patience, and the grace in your deliberations. As we heave our nation up in the sustenance of peace and development, let us not be distracted by those who will rather weigh us down and talk us down. Let us disclaim and discard the old grudges, anger, and mistrust that has blinded us and continue to blind us as a nation. Let us embrace and celebrate the ties that bind us together as a nation. On this note, I thank God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I want to thank the people and Republic of Sierra Leone for coming together to talk about peace, which provides an ecosystem for every other thing that is possible in this land. Thank you all.
I ask that the communique now be presented to the Honorable Vice President. It may now please the Honorable Vice President to make a statement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We at this in Chukwu Emeka, they try to translate this. I've been facing a Fulamande, no more get problem for talk Creole. But the Creole man was then they struggle for talk Creole. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Co-Chairman, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I feel very honored to formally close the National Conference on the establishment of the proposed Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. On the 10th of May, 2018, at the state opening of Parliament, His Excellency the President clearly laid out the need and purpose for this commission in the following fine words. He said, I quote, "In the last 10 years, the building blocks of national cohesion and the feeling of belonging of all citizens have gravely crumbled. And therefore, there is need to promote unity and national cohesion," unquote. Following that, His Excellency the President announced the launch of a presidential initiative that culminated in this national conference, geared essentially to solicit the views and input of Sierra Leoneans to enable us establish a solid infrastructure for peace and national cohesion in this country. As indicated, since the start of this conference, there is a consensus that Bintumani 1 and Bintumani 2, we are about laying the blocks, building blocks for a stable democratic polity. And therefore, Bintumani 3 is no doubt about consolidating and solidifying those building blocks for a peaceful, stable, democratic Sierra Leone. Therefore, it is with humility that I receive the final communique containing the key highlights of the deliberations over the last 3 days, including today. Judging from the contents as well as the context, it is evident that the conference has to a large extent responded to the need to stimulate consultations among a broad range of actors from across the length and breadth of our beloved country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, watching and following the deliberations, because some of us have been following this since Thursday from our offices, to a large extent points to the inclusive nature of the conference. I see paramount chiefs, community-based organizations, well-established civil society organizations, human rights campaigners, young boys and girls, media practitioners, as well as local councillors. I also see revered political dinosaurs who have been marking the political topography of this country in the last 20 years, and many more vibrant social actors. I see intellectuals, religious leaders, opinion leaders, and ordinary Sierra Leoneans. From that, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I can discern varying facets of this conference. I see an intellectual face to this conference. I see a civic face to this conference. I see a political face to this conference. And above all, I see a grassroots face to this conference. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, from all assessment and indications, I will say with certainty that Bintumani 3 has unquestionably achieved the intended purpose. The purpose, as His Excellency the President rightly puts it, to capture the voices of Sierra Leoneans. And no doubt, our people took this conference very seriously, with a singular drive to see a better governed and stable Sierra Leone. The people have spoken, oftentimes with passion, but be rest assured that you have been heard loud and clear. Most of you have expressed the desire to see a commission that is representative and inclusive. A commission that will enjoy enormous support from government to enable it carry out its mandate. A commission that is independent with the requisite capacity to respond to the multifaceted challenges of peace building in this country. A commission with solid institutional outlet at various levels, including at chiefdom, district, and national levels. A commission with a gendered and youthful face. A commission, more importantly, a commission, you want to see a commission that can adequately capture the sentiments, desires, and continued quest of a people that believe in the vital importance of peace and national cohesion. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me say here with all modesty that the outcome of your deliberations in all its forms will constitute the basis that will shape the contours of the white paper from which the Commission will stem. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, drawing from my experience working over the years for the United Nations in Europe, West Africa, and the Sahel, and more so engaging with the dynamics of building sustainable peace in those regions, I have come to realize that viable state-society relations is vital to national cohesion. State-society relations is not solely driven by political consideration, but by the broader dynamics that hinges first on state capacity. In that regard, dwindling state capacity over the years, coupled with deep-seated dysfunctionality of the state, have resulted in the progressive disengagement of society from the state. Such disengagements, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, are usually characterized by widespread frustrations, shocks, and even confrontations. A state that cannot guarantee essential services such as the rule of law, effective policing, and basic services cannot strengthen its hold over society. Society needs to feel catered for. It is normal for society to have expectations of the state and the state to acquire the capacity to meet those expectations. As a government, under the leadership of His Excellency the President, we are working and will continue to work very hard to address the several years of statelessness that have affected this country, because we believe an effective and capable state stands a greater chance to maintain social peace and stability. And by extension, is in a better position to address what has just been articulated in the communiqué, which is exclusion and marginalization. Another critical challenge is the youth question. State capacity to provide concrete answers to the deep-seated problems of youth unemployment is critical. Oftentimes, youths are the vectors of discontent and social disorder. We are very happy. I am personally very pleased, and I'm sure His Excellency from his house, where he is watching this program, will be pleased to note that some of these critical questions have been raised during your deliberations. We are cognizant, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, of the broader expectations that we have sensed throughout the deliberations. As I have indicated, it is normal to have expectations, but we should work together to channel those expectations within a realistic context. One that will enable us to establish and operationalize a commission that will respond, as His Excellency said, to the exigencies of our time. In that light, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us be guided by realism. Realism in the days of stringent public expenditure. But be rest assured, this government is going to put the resources to get this commission on its feet and run. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as also indicated in the communique we have just heard, we also, as a government, we will engage in some amount of institutional engineering process to avoid overlaps and waste of resources. I want to assure you that. I want to conclude by re-echoing the words of His Excellency the President during the launch of this conference. He said clearly, this conference is about the people of Sierra Leone. Therefore, the proposed commission is no doubt the People's Commission. This commission is going to be a people-centered commission. While the government will continue to facilitate its establishment, support its operationalization, the commission will only make meaningful impact if it is owned and driven by the people. Like the free quality education, His Excellency is once again on a history-making track to give the people of this country a commission that will add value to our continued quest for stability and development in Sierra Leone. On this promising note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me thank the chairman and co-chairman, including those who worked tirelessly over the last couple of months since the inception of this process, starting from the green paper to the consultations and to this undoubtedly overwhelming conference. I want to thank you very much for your effort. Let me also thank the numerous participants from civil society activists to politicians, local leaders, youth, paramount chiefs, children and women's groups from across the country who gave this conference an inclusive tone and coloration. No doubt you have captured the moment. It has been a fulfilling national conference which this country and our generation will remember for a very long time. I want to assure you that this communique is in safe hands, and this communique will be presented within the next couple of minutes to His Excellency, the President of the Republic. On that note, let me conclude finally by wishing you all the best. May God bless you all, and I wish you a safe journey back to your various destinations, and make no mistake, you together with this government, we are on the right track because, as we say, Paupa, this commission will team up, it will work, and it will succeed. Assalamu alaikum.